The favorite type of lead, no matter what, is a referral. We could all agree, hands down, a referral is like the best lead you can get, the best compliment, the best type of lead. Second to a referral is a cash offer lead. What I will say is when a lead comes in from a cash offer request, in my opinion, they're a much stronger lead because they're motivated to sell. Cash offer clicks, lead magnet tool.
Hey guys, it's Yuri with I Speak to Lead, and I'm very excited to talk to Chevy today, one of the great leaders for one of the big groups of agents with Keller Williams. Chevy, nice to see you. How's it going?
See you, Yuri. Doing good over here in Austin, Texas. Thank you.
We know you just moved. We are very happy for you and hope you enjoy your new stay, even though there have been some issues there. But I wanted to bring you in, and thank you for making time, in your very tight schedule, to talk about maybe the opportunities that agents are missing by not leveraging different types of leads, different types of maybe closing strategies, how they can earn more money, essentially. So, and before I go into that, do you mind sharing just a couple of words about yourself, what you do, how your team's structured, all that type of stuff?
Absolutely. Thank you, Yuri. I appreciate it. So I'm Chevy Saucier, and I live here in Austin, Texas, just moved from Dallas. And we run a real estate company called the Heil Group with Keller Williams. We've got about 120 agents spread across 7 different markets in 3 different states. So we're in Florida, Georgia, and Texas. Texas being one of our biggest markets. Even though we don't have a ton of agents, 120 agents doesn't sound like a lot. We're actually one of the top 5 expansions with Keller Williams. So we do a lot of units per agent. When you have a lot of units, you want to be able to have a lot of lead opportunities and things of that nature. That's really allowed us to get really good with systems, scripting, just things that we need to do. And I'm happy to be able to share anything that might help someone. I started as a regular real estate agent myself. I'm director of Heil Group at this point, but back in, I believe, 2017, I was a regular agent. Had no idea what I was doing, to be completely honest. You take the real estate classes and they tell you you're going to post on Facebook and you're going to get all these deals. It's definitely not the case. You got to learn how to get out there and hustle and work leads, and you need to skill up in order to be successful. Throughout my time, I was able to close 60 deals in my first year with our team. It took over 100 listings my second year. And I did that with a lot of work and a lot of effort. That's not my team's numbers. That's what I was able to accomplish. Of course, my team, we've got people who do way better than me by all categories for sure. So my numbers look kind of sad now compared to some of our agents. But all that to say, we've got some good tools that I'm more than happy to share with. Hopefully some people can take that. And if you don't want to do 100 deals, I totally understand. But even, if you could add 5 or 10 more deals every single year, that could make a really big difference.
Let's talk about mentality first. Here is the question. When you first got the license, were you always wired, let me get as many listings as it possible, let me earn the most money as it possible, or when did you realize that you gotta go after maybe leads, sellers, to get more listings, to get more things done? Or it was always part of your, nature?
It wasn't. It actually was not at all. I almost quit real estate my first 6 months. And I don't know if I've told too many people this, but I started out as a buyer's agent. I was not on a real estate team. I joined a brokerage. I was just an individual agent, had no idea what I was doing. I would go to Starbucks and just introduce myself to people. I would go to Home Depot and just look around for people who were getting moving boxes or who might be picking up tools to make improvements on their homes. And anyways, none of that was super effective, all that to say. And my first client was a buyer. I showed them over 68 homes. You heard that right, 68 homes. And I did not want to do real estate anymore. I wanted to quit. I ended up getting recruited in on a really good team, and everyone that I'd ever talked to was like, you need to work buyers when you're a new agent. This team was like, no, but you need to work sellers. You need to go get sellers. And I'm like, really? But I'm new. And they're like, we'll teach you how to do it. It's going to be fine. And as soon as I made that switch over, of course, I still had buyers. A lot of times sellers are listing and buying. So you get double deals. But what it ended up really coming down to is I started moving my focus to sellers after being burnt out for about a year in real estate doing nothing. My first year on the team was able to close out a lot of deals, a lot better than I was doing by myself for sure. Because I just didn't have like the tools, or I didn't know what I was doing. It was so bad. Anyone who's been in real estate for their first year, it can be a struggle, especially if you haven't been in sales previously.
So being a part of a good team is probably one of the advice we're gonna give.
Broker, yeah, good broker, good team, mandatory.
What about scripts? Okay, let's talk about that. And you've been a while there. Would
Yep.
you say, and I'm working more with investors, I don't work with agents that much, but are there like different types of scripts for agents overall, or would you say they're more or less all the same? And right now I'm talking about like to get listings. I'm not talking about like cash offer thing that we're gonna talk, but initial seller script, seller agent script when we go after somebody who potentially wants to sell his house. Are those all the same or those are different?
They're different in a way. I think it depends on how the lead is coming in. I think the most important thing, whether it's a regular listing, if it's a cash offer, if you're going to be door knocking or, just cold outbound. So I really like to think of it as two main scripts. You've got an outbound script with people that have not reached out to you to sell their home, but you're trying to engage interest with them. Maybe they engaged with one of your posts or something and they clicked on it, that they liked it, but they didn't fill out a form or anything, but you got their information. I don't know, right? Maybe you're just reaching out to people because you sold a house in their neighborhood and you just want to go knock on their door and let them know like, hey, we just sold this house. Here's my information. That script's going to be a lot different than like a lead that has filled something out or engaged with something. That's what I like to work personally. I have done outbound calls before. I prefer when the lead comes in, and even if I've never spoke to them, I can reach out, do my scripting. And the main thing with that scripting is they won't always know how they came in. I've had people fill full-on form fill outs asking me for a comparative market analysis, people asking me for, a cash offer, people asking me to come out and list their home traditionally. And they're like, who is this? What did you do? And I think a lot of agents get hung up when they first start the scripting to where they don't sound confident when they reach out. And as soon as they say they didn't do something, they're like, oh, I didn't fill anything out, or how'd you get my information? Even though they literally just filled out a form and asked you to call them, agents just freeze and they hang up. Or they start answering a bunch of questions. It's like, oh, yeah, this is Chevy with the How Real Estate Group. How are you doing today? I know you reached out to me about potentially getting a comparative market analysis on your home on 123 Main Street. And I just wanted to touch base and see if you were still looking to get that. And they're like, who is this? How'd you get my info? It's like, it doesn't matter. Cool, you had filled something out, but sorry, were you still looking to see what your home might be worth for when you get ready to sell it? And you just kind of redirect. So I think it's less about what you're exactly saying and more about how confident are you when you're saying it, and then preparing for objections. Who is this? How did you get my information? My sister is a real estate agent. My neighbor down the street sold, 2 houses in my neighborhood. So I think it's less about what to say and more about how you say it, and then getting consistent with those scripts. So when you do say it and you do answer them, you sound very confident, and then learning the difference between basically an outbound lead and an inbound lead. And you're going to work them very similar, but the intro part of the conversation might be a little bit different.
And you started sharing some of the objections. So the one that I didn't feel something or whatsoever, probably the easy one, you just got to brush it off and just say, hey, but so I looking to get something or not? I'm like, we're gonna discuss how you filed the form. Okay, so it's a good point. Let me ask you about the second part of what you mentioned about when they tell that I have somebody else who can list my house or something like that. Would you say, is that fair to say this is where it's important kind of to be a part of team so you can leverage this whole network thing? Or there are maybe some other creative ways that agents can do without like saying like, no, but I'm with this company and we do these things and these things. Like, what's the approach?
Oh, that's a good question. And it depends, right? I think what it boils down to, whether you're going to be with a team, whether you're going to be with an individual agent, maybe you are the broker, right? Maybe you run your own business. The most important thing is to understand what you offer. What is your UVP? Are you going to come out and do the exact same thing every other real estate agent is going to do? That might work with a portion, but what can you offer that is going to set you apart from everyone else? quickly that you can talk about with that lead on the phone? And how are you going to present that when you meet with them? And then the rest of it really comes down to, nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care. So I think a lot of times agents like to hype themselves up over the phone, and I've been guilty of this too. So I'm saying this from coaching when I've coached agents and things I've done. But I think it's important just to ask questions, get to learn what that person's situation is and build rapport over the phone. And then once you get in front of them, you can talk a lot more about what you do and what sets you apart. So you need a little bit of a hook to get in front of them. Like maybe you bring a cash offer to the appointment to give them options. One thing that I like to always tell people is if they know someone else, I'm like, great, can't throw a rock outside without hitting a real estate agent. There's tons of them out there. Quick question. Have you been able to meet with anyone to go over not only what your home might be worth, but what a cash offer might look like for you and your family? And they're like, oh no, I haven't actually talked about those options. Cool. We work with a couple different partners, would love to meet with you. And we could really sit down and see what strategy might work best for you and your family. So I think it's just giving them more than just, I'm going to come list your home traditionally. Although 90% of people end up going that route anyways, you need to have other options or things that you can give that person. Maybe you offer like a lease back program. Maybe you do a buy before you sell program. Maybe you do a cash offer. You have to have some creative solutions to be able to set yourself apart from the 90 other agents they know.
So you mentioned when you called, you kind of hinted that the person who became an inbound lead for you requested for how much my house was. So let's talk a little bit about difference in leads. So what kind of types of leads agents typically get? And I know there are some different programs. Again, if you don't want to comment too much, it's fine. But you guys can get leads from Zillow. I think there are several programs you can get there. You can get leads,
partners, right? Yeah, tons of partners.
Okay, it can be like some maybe investors bringing some leads, but what the major ones probably will be what, like with Zillow, Redfin, all those type of guys. You own that?
Yeah, there's tons of different ones. Some people have private networks. Some people run their own Facebook campaigns. Some people have lead partners. There's tons of places to get leads from.
Let's talk a little bit more about differences. So Zillow leads is typically people who already, let's say, requested that I want to list my house, they connect you with agents. Is that fair to say, or there are different ones too?
Yeah, different ones, right? I think of y'all's leads, Yuri, with iSpeed. Those would be, people are already filling something out, requesting to get something. All the lead partners, right? Most lead partners you get, they probably filled something out. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really matter if what they filled out, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds crazy to say, but it doesn't matter if it was a cash offer. It doesn't matter if it was a CMA. It doesn't matter if it was just like, hey, we're looking to sell. Basically, the most important thing as soon as they fill something out is to just simply set an appointment to go sit at their kitchen table. The goal is just to get in front of those people as fast as you can. But yeah, there's tons of different really good lead partners out there that you can, if you're on a team, or sometimes you can buy individually, all kinds of different ways to get those leads. The biggest thing you can do as an agent is to not get hung up on what they specifically requested, and to just think of it as an at-bat and to set an appointment. Mm-hmm. Set an appointment. It doesn't matter what they say over the phone, because I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to over the phone and they tell me one thing because they're getting so many calls. Maybe they've reached out to several companies, and when I sit down at their kitchen table and they've showed me around their house and we've got to build rapport, I usually bring them a Starbucks. I ask them, hey, I'm heading to your house for our appointment on Saturday, at 12. What's your favorite drink? And I'll pick them up a Starbucks on my way. And I just make it a little, of course it's formal and professional, but little less salesy, and I'm just showing up to get to know them and their situation, and then we're vibing it out to see how we can help them.
This is actually great. Whoever is watching us, guys, you were just shown that you can probably close every freaking lead. So that's if as long as you know what you do, you have confidence, like Chevy. And the only thing, like, I want to just ask about leads, like leading to my question, is that I wouldn't say it's better or worse, but let's talk about this. Do you feel a difference, or what? And if it is, yes. If no, it's fine. What's the difference between, let's say, leads that generate and people who want cash offer versus people who might be looking for maybe evaluation or something? Is there a difference in motivation, situations, other than maybe they want a cash offer? but in terms of willing to sit down and do something.
It could be. So my favorite type of lead personally, well, the favorite type of lead, no matter what, is a referral. From a past client. Like, we could all agree, hands down, a referral is like the best lead you can get, the best compliment, the best type of lead. Second to a referral is a cash offer lead. Because because people will ask for a cash offer and they really just want a home value. People will ask for a cash offer and maybe they actually really need that. Maybe they're under contract for a new build and the builder said, hey, Yuri, you can't buy this home if you have a home sale contingency. Maybe they really need a cash offer to remove that, right? Maybe they're going through like, a separation or like a big family issue, something really stressful for them. Or maybe they just need to go traditional. Who knows? But what I will say is when a lead comes in from a cash offer request, in my opinion, they're a much stronger lead because they're motivated to sell. Whether that means 70% of people who come in off of a cash offer lead click within 5 years end up selling, right? Somehow they're going to end up selling, 70% of them. So for me, I think of cash offers less like, hey, this person has to get a cash offer. And I think of it more like the ultimate lead magnet because it's sexy. People, they're like, oh, I can skip all of this hassle and just get a cash offer. Great. I want to do that, right? Whether they decide to do that or not, who knows, right? You got to go through the numbers with them, talk about their strategy. But the cash offer click is a lead magnet. And the objection I get from agents is, well, all the cash offers are really low. Then list their home. Great. List their home. That's not a problem. Good news is we can do multiple things to get that person's home sold. So I think that was a big mindset shift that I had to make is like, don't worry about the offers, worry about that human and what they need and show them the different options you can help them through and let them decide what's going to work best. That's it. We're there to advise. That's all we're there for. We're there to advise and negotiate and represent that human into getting their home sold, whichever means makes the most sense. So cash offer clicks, lead magnet tool.
I would imagine in this case, you guys like our leads and we're going to talk about cash offers. So, but can you share a little bit more, that's how it's been going with the ISP to lead so far? So it's been a while since we're working together.
Yes. Yeah. We love y'all's leads because like I said before, we've done a lot of work to, part of being a real estate agent, one of the hardest things about being an agent, the conversations can be easy. Meeting with people is fun. That's all the fun things. The hard part is getting the at-bats to be able to go have an opportunity to sit down at somebody's kitchen table and show them how we can help or see what we can do to connect with them. And so the thing that I've really enjoyed about your lead specifically, Yuri, over at iSpeed, is it gives us a really strong at-bat to go connect with someone, whether they decide to take a cash offer or not. I mean, we've already, we've had, several deals and lots of appointments come through from your leads. And the good thing is it seems like whether they take a cash offer or not, because all of them, even though they ask for a cash offer, they don't all take one. Like sometimes they really do just list traditional with us, which is great. But I think the fact that they've taken the step to fill out a form, to ask somebody to reach out to them about what they're looking for, they've already taken a lot further steps than most leads. Like they're just a lot more motivated, to have somebody reach out and see how they can help.
And we discussed a little bit more on what you guys do, and let's go into the route of cash offer. So let's imagine there are some ways for teams, and you can share this too. But there's also a question. Let's say I'm the agent. I want to give the cash offer, or maybe find a way to do that. Let's say you would like to be this type of agent. How you do that?
Yeah, that's actually a great question because I think that's where a lot of people get caught up because they need to know what resources do I need to be able to go help these people when I'm meeting with them. And I would say we use Homeward as our cash offer buyer because their program, it's a little bit different. Basically, the seller has an opportunity to get a cash offer and then they have an opportunity to make a second check. So it's basically like upfront cash offer with an opportunity to make more. And because a lot of our leads that we get are more retail-based homes, it makes a lot of sense for those customers because it allows them to, move into that new build without risking all their equity. They still have an opportunity to gain that back. So Homeward's been a good one for us. And then we've had, I advise people to get multiple cash offer options for people because it isn't a one size fits all. Maybe it's someone who is like, I've got 7 days before my home gets foreclosed on and I need to sell it. Well, I might need to take a different strategy. I think the best thing you can do is go network, go figure out who are the cash offers in my area. Do I have a place like Homeward that I can use that program? Do I need to work with one of the big companies who offer this? Do I have private investors that can help with homes if I have someone in a situation? And just putting yourself out there. There's tons of websites, tons of ways to do this. Most people's brokers or teams probably have resources they can use too. Get out there and network and figure out who are your people? Who are my contractors? Who are my cash buyers? Who is my stager? Who is my photographer? Maybe like for me, it wasn't hard because I joined the team. I joined Heil Group and I plugged and played immediately with a team. So they already had these resources lined up, had these things I could use. But even if you're an individual agent, you need to go get those things for yourself, right? You've got to go do that. That way, when you get leads, they're not wasted. Because if you show up and you just try to do the same thing with these leads that you do with everyone else, sir, can list your home on the market and this and that. They've already had that conversation with like 10 other agents. They want to know what all their options are so they can make a decision, an informed decision.
And you mentioned about you guys in different regions.
Yep.
So, and you shared before we started this conversation that there are different situations in different markets where it may be easier to list, to somewhere it's better to have a cash offer. Can you tell a bit more about that and maybe some particular examples?
Oh, yes. And I don't specialize in every market, but I do coach a lot of agents in different markets. And what I will say is every market is so different. Some markets have went up in value. Some markets have went down in value. Some people had a huge spike when our interest rates went really low. People were bidding 100,000, 200,000 over asking. And some of those people might be ready to sell now and they're realizing they may not have the equity that they thought in their home. And so maybe a cash offer is not the best fit for them. They may not have enough equity for that to make financial sense. Maybe listing traditionally might make more sense, right? Maybe in certain markets, your homes have appreciated 3-4% every year. And I'd say, most markets probably have. I'm not an expert in every market. That would be cool if I was. So if we know anybody who is, I'd love to talk with them. But if that was the case, then cool, maybe a cash offer could make more sense for them. But it's so dependent on when did they buy their home? Have they made any updates? It literally always goes back to getting in front of them, looking at their house in person, not just on photos, like go smell their house. Does it smell weird? Does it smell like cats? I have a cat, so not a cat hater here. I have a Coco kitty, but you never know. You got to get out there. You have to see their house, see what kind of updates they did. My idea of updates may be very different than someone else's. We know that happens. So you just got to get out there, go see it, talk to them about their situation, and then have those solutions in place so you can go help those humans and then know your market. That's part of the job of being an agent, right? You got to know your market. How much has your market appreciated? When do they buy their home? What's their loan payoff? Do they have any second liens, right? All those things that you need to know as an agent. So when you show up and give them options, you can have a really, really insightful conversation and help them see what their net might actually be. So that just say, get market knowledge, go read, listen to all the podcasts, stay up to date on what your market trends are.
Okay. And you mentioned about like different equities in different regions. Can you give a couple of examples, like which markets would you say it's kind of easier to list and the one that need maybe more cash offers?
Yeah, I just think about some of the markets that we're in. So like I think about Austin, for example, Austin, Texas, that market has made some adjustments on their home prices. So that market's been adjusted a little bit in comparison to maybe Dallas, Texas, where the market didn't have as high of a high, right? Just a little bit more incremental. Florida is a good example. I wouldn't necessarily say that it was just price specific, but we've had some insurance things, right, in different markets. It's harder to get insurance on some homes in certain markets that we're in. So every market has their own set of challenges that they have to overcome, right? And I think that's where that, I am not a hyper localized agent in every one of those markets, but I think that is an advantage of being hyper localized agent in that market, is knowing it. And when you sit down with your seller, you can present that type of information that is hyper localized, that is informative, that maybe they're not getting from the media. Things that you know because you watch it daily. Every second of every day, you're refreshing and seeing what's going on.
Let's imagine you are agent who wants, or agent investor or something, who wants to maybe take advantage of closing or doing something in places where they cannot drive, or maybe even other state. How you would do that?
Oh, that would be outside of my realm. That would be completely outside of my realm, because the one thing that our team specifically prides itself on is every one of our agents that customer is meeting with is hyper localized.
Okay.
So, but I know a lot of people who are like investors who do multiple deals in all kinds of different states and have a totally different business model. But for us, it's very, because Keller Williams is our broker. So we want to make sure like we're very competent and know that specific market that we're going to help that person in.
Well, let's imagine you want to do that. How you do that? If you need, like, you can
If
think
I
about
wanted to do that, if it were me and I wanted to go break into a new market or go invest in deals in a new market, personally, one, I would want to visit that market. I would want to know someone who's already doing deals in that market and not someone from a podcast. I would want to know someone personally that I can connect with and learn how it's going for them and see what's happening. And then the third thing I would do is I would want to check like growth charts. Like, is that population density decreasing or is it increasing, right? Are more people going there or are more people leaving? And just for me personally, that's something I would probably be interested in learning more about before I would want to break into a new market.
Going back to leads a little bit more, you mentioned the people who may be applying for cash offer, they have options in terms of having different agents. What about, let's say, people who want a cash offer, but maybe they already spoke to several other wholesalers or something like that?
Which would be yeah.
Okay. How is this conversation different than when you call after, let's say, they spoke to wholesaler about cash offer? Is that easier conversations, harder conversation because they already got so many people already calling, or how does that go typically, or no difference?
That's great. That's great. I love when people already have options. It sounds like, Yuri, you already started doing a lot of the work to see what your options are. I would love to be another option that you can have in your arsenal of options, because it sounds like you've been able to speak with 8 different people according to what you just told me here. And out of curiosity, how are those offers looking for you? Have you found one that is making sense? Great.
All the low ball offers or something.
Oh, there's so low offers. Okay, cool. Well, I hear that a lot when I'm chatting with people that come over to our team. And that's a lot of the reason why they enjoy sitting down and speaking with myself and our team, because we can go through, obviously you've got some of those cash options. We could go through maybe what a homeward offer could look like, what a traditional listing could look like, what X, Y, and Z buyer might be able to offer you. We could sit down and look at those nets together. And if one of those make more sense for you financially, and you think that we can do a good job helping you through that, awesome. I would love an opportunity to earn your business. And if not, that's okay. But you don't know me, you don't owe me anything, but you do owe it to yourself to know your options, right? So How does this Saturday look for you for us to sit down and have a conversation like that? And they go, Yuri, then they'll tell you, well, can you just send me the offer over the phone? Because I need to see your home, right? If I could just wave a magic wand and know exactly what a home is worth, I would, but you kind of need to see it.
Probably last question before I let you go. So just, and I remember that it was more than a year ago when I spoke first time. Did you guys change anything in your system in terms of like how often you call on leads, how much you follow up on them? Like, was there anything changed there, or is it the same? Is it similar structure? And you can talk a little bit more about this, because if I remember correct, you mentioned that 80% of leads are closing like on the 3rd month or something. Like, I remember there was some crazy stat about that, but you can correct me. I think I'm wrong.
It's wild right now, because I feel like the competition has never been higher on leads right now. Like, a lot of agents are getting leads in. It's just the competition is high. So what I will say, one thing that we've changed is we are doing the absolute best that we can to try to connect with them within 5 minutes of getting the lead. Man, it's kind of funny, and no pun intended, but it really is speed to lead, right? When you're talking to a lead, because it's so much easier to have that conversation before they talk to 8 people than it is after. I mean, you're going to get an appointment either way, as long as you close and you can offer some value there. But I would say we've really, really implemented a strong urgency to when the lead comes in to reach out immediately if you can, because time kills all deals. And I think in this type of market, especially when people are looking for a cash offer, they do have a lot of options. There's a ton of options. I feel like there's more options every day for folks, and that's great. We want people to have options, but it also stinks when you don't even get to tell them an option that may have actually been a better fit for them because you were too late getting a hold of them, or you didn't follow up aggressively enough to give them that opportunity, right? And there's nothing that stinks more than you call someone and they're like, oh, we hired an agent last week. And you're like, dang it, maybe I should have called 3 times instead of 1. It's just those types of things. And I believe the chart shows once you hit over 4 call attempts, you're 80% more likely to get a hold of that lead. And most agents stop calling after the 2nd call attempt, which is great.
About four in the same day, or 4 in like over a period of time, or like?
I don't normally do 4 in one day. I'll normally call them as soon as I get the lead, it's a good time to call, because obviously they just reached out asking you to reach out to them for, a cash offer to list or for comparative market analysis or what have you. So immediately, and then call it a different time. Like, for example, if I got the lead right now, it's 1:18 here in Texas, I would call them now, and I'd probably call them back again after maybe 5:30 or 6. Because maybe they're at work and they filled something out online, but they couldn't answer the phone. So I'd probably try to catch them when they're on their way home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd send them an email. Hey, I got your message about me, helping you with X, Y, and Z. And I just want to reach out to see when a good time to connect is.
Okay. Do you guys also
call and email in the same day? 2 calls, email.
Do you guys also send texts to people, or how's that going?
Yeah, if you have an opt-in, right? If they opted in, that you're allowed to text them. I know every state's compliance is a little bit different, but if you've got a compliant opt-in to text them, great. You should absolutely do that, right? In my opinion, I think you should 100% do that as long as it's a compliant opt-in. Absolutely.
Okay. And how long would you say you guys follow up typical on leads? How in your system?
So until they tell us, I'm going to follow up. Personally, I'm going to follow up with a lead until they tell me that they've already hired someone else or they've hired me.
Okay.
We're going to just follow up until they're either completely done for, or we've got an opportunity or at bat with them. And then periodically, usually once a month, we'll clean out our system if we see that people have listed on the market or something like that. Because that's the only thing we can really see on our end, is that they've sold or they've listed with an agent. Then we'll clean those out of our system. But if we haven't been able to see that you've listed with an agent or sold your home, we still need to follow up with you like you asked us to.
Let's imagine if there is a lead and they tell you I'm kind of not selling. Do you guys try to do anything about that? Because I know with a cash offer, it's not like you can do something about that maybe, but do agents do anything about it if they say, no, actually I'm not selling or something? Would you do something, or just say, okay, let's just go to next lead? So what's is there any trick on that?
Yeah, it's usually, so here's the thing. Is that an objection? Not really, because an objection would be an answer you can overcome. If someone's not selling, you really can't. But what it could be is a brush off. And okay. I think that usually when people say they just filled out a cash offer request and then they go, I'm not selling, no worries. It sounds like now's not the right time. Well, out of curiosity, what had y'all thinking about selling in the first place? And you just ask another question. And you would not believe how many people don't just ask one more question. Cool, well, what had you thinking about selling in the first place? And they're like, well, we were thinking about this, but then we got 2 cash offers in and they were really low. Or, well, we do want to sell eventually, but we're not going to retire till November. And then you start to get a little bit more information to work with, right? If they don't just say we're not selling and hang up, I mean, there's not much you can do with that. That's okay. Sure. That's going to happen. Not everyone's going to be a winner. You just need one yes. But I would say with any brush off or objection, train yourself to ask one more question. Just one more. And what's the worst thing that happens? You lose the opportunity? you're not breaking anything. Like, you're trying to help someone. And if you come at it from that place, like curiosity and from helping another human, people are going to feel that over the phone. People are going to feel that when you're in front of them, and you're going to have an opportunity to earn their business if there is one.
So it's been great. It's been great. I always like to talk to you and ask about some insights, from agent teams. And we look forward for you to close more deals with us and list more houses and get more commissions. But nice to see you, and talk to you
Some more
soon.
people for sure. Thank you so much.